Okay, everybody, this is Sheets, and I'm going to now be doing a review of the Christmas slate, specifically for Fan Duel. Now, I don't know how you want to go about doing this, whether you should watch the DraftKings one first. Am I going to presume that you watch the DraftKings one first? Maybe a little bit. I'll let you guys decide whether you should watch the DraftKings one first. I think you should be able to get away without using the DraftKings one first if you do, for some reason, only play on FanDuel. Bobby he's away. I don't know what his connection's like, so I did promise him I would get some of my views up here just to kind of see if I can, help you guys navigate some of these slates and learn something about DFS, maybe in a different way that others might be teaching you, just as I've been hopefully doing for the last several weeks. So the approach to FanDuel is going to be a lot different than the approach to DraftKings because of the late swap nature of DraftKings. You'll notice that the way the games have spread out, each one of them is an island game, right? No games overlap. So on DraftKings, what people are going to be doing is they're going to be, at least the experts are going to probably leave themselves some flexibility to use that edge they have in being able to late swap in an efficient manner. And the real superstars are going to be the ones that are at their computers, back and forth pretty much all day. So fortunately, you don't have that issue with FanDuel. Everybody's going to put their lineups in before noon, and then we're just going to let the better man win, which definitely gives the less expert player, a more even playing field. Let's put it that way. So interestingly, the way that I approached this FanDuel slate was a little different than the way that I approached the DraftKings slate. Now, I shouldn't say that. I shouldn't say the way I approached it was differently, but the way things turned out was different. So what I do, as I do from every slate, is I look for games that have low-owned, well-projected players that hopefully correlate well, and that's kind of, DFS nirvana. And then let's see what kind of exceptions I can make along the way. And what I do when I do these reviews, hopefully when I do them myself, I'm definitely going to do this, is go from the last game back. This way I make sure that I hit that last game, because most content providers or whatever, they spend so much time on these first games, they kind of blow off the last game. And the last game carries with a lot of significance. More so, I should say more so. I would say more so on DraftKings because of the ability to late swap or whatever. But, FanDuel, I think, as well, because, again, it's so much more out in the future that I still think that kind of game is kind of ignored a little bit. And as a matter of fact, on this particular slate, the one that is ignored the most, the later one, is also the one that's going to have the lowest ownership as well. And as you might remember from my DraftKings review, I actually found that the New Orleans-Denver game could be an interesting, really low-owned stack just because of the way that the everything projected. But interestingly, when we go through this on FanDuel, you'll see that the discrepancy between the good plays and the great plays is a little wider on FanDuel. So the way I approach this slate is a little bit different. Like, for example, when I look through the New Orleans-Denver game, on the Denver side of things, I don't see anybody that looks really that good at all. Jokic looks okay. Barton looks okay. But relative to the rest of the slate, they don't really look that great. I wouldn't even say they look good. Murray, Millsap, none of them. And likewise, on the New Orleans side, Derek Favors looks to be the best of kind of a bunch of just okay alternatives. I would say Lonzo Ball might be the best given play so far that I've looked at. But, again, he's no bargain. I would say no bargain. He's good, but he's not great. But let's put him in anyway. But because nobody from either side really looks that great, and it's kind of not a tight spread, I would definitely not be interested in stacking this game. So this game, as much as I would like to play this on FanDuel, being a late game, I just don't think I'm going to get there. And you'll see as I get to these other games why I say that. So when you go to the Clippers-Lakers game, I see that LeBron really projects as a real supreme type play relative to other guys on this slate. And you see when we get through them, there are several guys that project significantly better than their counterparts. And I guess it must be because of the position eligibility thing about FanDuel, that you have to play these guys at these positions. It makes standouts just kind of stand out a little more, especially on today's slate or on, say, tomorrow's slate. So, like, on this slate, for example, like, I'm looking at LeBron, and LeBron looks like, I mean, for now, until we look at these other guys, a really, really good value play. When I say value, again, it's all relative to price, so I'm not saying that he's, cheap or anything like that, but relative to his upside and his median projection, yeah, he does look pretty cheap. And don't worry about the game time decision. If anything, that'll help keep ownership a little bit lower. The Lakers have announced that they're both probable, which I presume they're going to play. One little bit of caution is that last year, I think, LeBron did overdo himself a little bit. I shouldn't say overdo himself. He was questionable leading into the Christmas game. He played and got hurt and was out for 3 weeks. Just saying. So on the Lakers side, I mean, LeBron looks to be like a great play, and Davis looks to be a little worse. So I'm not going to put Davis in alongside LeBron quite yet. On the Clipper side, Lou Williams looks to be a good play, but not great play. So I'll put him in for now. And there's no real great plays. Like, Paul George looks okay. Montrezl Harrell looks okay. You're going to get some publicity about Montrezl Harrell, especially on FanDuel. He might he might garner some ownership, but I have to say that the projections don't really match out the love he's going to get, I don't think. Remember, the reason why he projects the way he does is in part because this is a difficult matchup. Now, what you're going to hear maybe is people say, I know it's a difficult matchup, but, well, it is a difficult matchup, and that's why he's priced the way he is. And that's why he projects the way he is. Maybe he's not priced the way he is because of the matchup, but the reason why he projects the way he is because of the matchup. But he's okay. He's not terrible. But from this game, I don't see enough to really go out of my way to stack or mini stack or do anything. So it's looking like going to be one of those slates, at least so far, where maybe I find a stack from these other games, or it becomes one of those games where it's the battle of the one-offs and the battle of who can make the best lineups, which also could be interesting. So I look at the Houston game. So Houston, there are 2 really, really good plays. And one of them is James Harden. And again, this is no big deal, but one is James Harden and the other one is Russell Westbrook. Do you want to play these guys together? Let's put them in for now, just for the hell of it. Just because they both project so well that it's possible we might just go for that raw points thing. We'll see, because I think we're going to get to another play that is going to make us, not be able to afford all these guys. But they look to be really, really good plays. And aside from that, none of these Houston guys look to be that great. I mean, Capella, Tucker looks okay. House looks okay. McLemore. Actually, House doesn't even look that great on FanDuel. So it's really not that much. Golden State, I was hoping that you could find someone good on the Golden State side, but they all just look kind of just okay. I mean, Damian Lee would probably be my best attempt to get something of value here. Will I put him in yet? I'm going to put him in for now, just because Lou Williams didn't look so great. Let me put in Damian Lee just to have somebody in here. It's funny, like D'Angelo Russell on this site, FanDuel really doesn't look that good. Draymond Green, just okay. And the reason why I distinguish between just okay and just good or whatever is you get to this Milwaukee game and you see Giannis. There are 2 guys from this game that look really, really good relative to their price. One of them, Giannis, looks just so strong, okay? And remember, 11-2 might seem like a lot, but remember, Giannis, he averages 2 fantasy points per minute, pretty much. He's finally going to get in a matchup where he rates to exceed his 30 minutes, right? And that's why he's going to project as well as he does. So he looks to be just a supreme type play. And the reason why I bring him up is the difference between him and someone like Kawhi or someone like Paul George. I mean, the difference between those guys is so huge that you really can't get away from playing Giannis unless you thought his ownership was going to be completely through the roof. So you see the way this slate is kind of shaping up relative to the way DraftKings was shaping up. See, DraftKings, I was able to find kind of little 1v1s that projected well. Here, the difference between the way guys like LeBron, Giannis, and even Westbrook project are so wide that it looks to be a slate where you're going to want to battle the one-offs and play these great plays and see what else you can kind of fit in. So speaking of which, another guy who I can already see I'm going to want to use, the way this build is kind of taking me, is from this game, specifically to Fan Duel. Brook Lopez at 4,900 is looking to be a tremendous play here. I mean, he's projecting very well. He has a good, he's good recent games as well. And considering that I really would love to get these kind of studs in here, to find a really good value play is really, really strong here. So looks like Lopez, where I thought he was just okay on DraftKings, on FanDuel, I mean, this looks to be, this really looks to be shaping up to be something decent. On the Philly side, let me look at Philly. It just looks like everybody's just whatever. Want to know the truth? I mean, Simmons, like, okay, I suppose. Simmons looks to be the best of a bunch of just blah alternatives. Embiid, again, I'm not going to play Embiid now. I mean, Lopez is just such a great value spot for what I want to do with this build that just Embiid's just not going to make it. He's just not. Even though I think he's got great upside. And I think on DraftKings, I mean, where I could kind of screw around with what I'm doing, I could play Embiid. But I think here, this is kind of a better way to go. We'll see. We'll see what remains in the last game, which some might call the first game, is this Boston-Toronto game. So on the Boston side, I have to say that everybody looks like crap. I mean, nobody looks to project very, very well relative to their price. And so nobody really stands out. Yet on the other side, I didn't do this on purpose, but on the other side, there are two guys that project to be extremely strong values. And I think one of them, in a similar way to the way I now analyzed it on DraftKings, is probably going to be pretty low owned, is Kyle Lowry. Again, with all these great games in games 2, 3, and 4 with the Giannis and Embiid and you get Westbrook and Harden here and all these studs in the Clippers-Lakers game, are people really going to want to spend $8,000 on Lowry? Well, I will tell you this, he's projecting incredibly well, and I think he's going to be low owned. I don't know, it beats me, but certainly looks like it. So Kyle Lowry we could put in. And the other guy who projects incredibly well as a value play here, now he's going to be very chalky, but he certainly looks better here than on DraftKings, and it's going to be kind of tough to fade, especially considering what I'm trying to do here, is the other guy from Toronto is going to be Rondé Hollis-Jefferson. Now, again, his price on DraftKings, which we kind of thought was just okay, on FanDuel is relative to, the price of a roster spot is exceptional. So, look, I'm going to tell you that he is going to be very chalky on the slate on FanDuel. But honestly, I mean, I don't care. If I'm able to get, these types of guys in, and I can get a low-owned Lowry, I'll eat the chalk with Hollis-Jefferson. I mean, how much is he really going to kill me if I'm wrong? So it's so interesting. Like, we've gone through these games, and just the approach just seems so much different on FanDuel. Like, on DraftKings, I'm able to kind of like theorize these 1v1s and this other type of stuff. But because the difference between these good plays like LeBron, Giannis, and Westbrook And other type plays like, I don't know, what are we talking about? Jokic, Harrell, Paul George, whatever. The difference wasn't that great. But here on FanDuel, I guess because of the position requirements, it just seems like such a gap between Giannis and LeBron and other small forwards to be, for one, that you can go this route, and as long as you can get competent guys in these other positions, you got to be able to do this, right? 4,000 per position. I mean, if I just go through the shooting guards and I'll just kind of sort by whatever. I mean, I could put in, I could go put in Terrence Davis. I mean, he could be okay, right? Is he going to make me $1 million? I don't know. So Terrence Davis, and is there any way? I mean, you could do a lot of things, like in the power forward position for 4,500. Well, you know what you could do? Check this out. What you could do is you could play another guy who's probably going to be okay. He's going to get his minutes for sure. Is you could play PJ Tucker at power forward, for example. I don't want to give my whole thing. Oh, it's my whole thing like it's a big deal away. But you wanted to do this, and you could find someone else in the shooting guard position. I don't know, anybody 4,100 is pretty good. Oh, you want to try this? You want to play Danny Green? They're probably going to need someone like Danny Green to guard Paul George, and one of those D3 guys that play defense and shoot threes. Get a little bit of sneaky correlation between LeBron getting some assists to Danny Green. Okay, so you got Terrence Davis. He's not the greatest play in the world. But, all those Toronto guys are out. There's usage to go around. There's minutes to go around. He projects to be, I guess, okay. And what do I need from him? 15? I mean, remember, I want to get big games out of these big time players like Giannis and LeBron and Westbrook. I do think this Lopez thing has some big upside because I don't think that Embiid is going to be in a really big hurry to chase this dude out to the three-point arc, okay? So I think he's going to get as many shots as he can handle from out there, which gives him extra upside. So it's so funny that the approach to FanDuel, maybe it's like that all the time, I just don't notice it. But my approach to FanDuel just looked to be a little bit different than DraftKings. I think the difference between the top plays on FanDuel to the mid-range plays is just a little greater than it is on DraftKings. So I hope that either wasn't too fast if you didn't watch the DraftKings one, or too slow if you did. But I think this does illustrate how you do need to, look at your sites differently. And I've been a victim of that sometimes. Like, I'll pick guys I like on DraftKings, and then I'll say, I'll just play the same guys on FanDuel, and I'll just kind of force them in. I think if you look at these things as literally two different contests, like one with one set of values and one with another, I think that you'll end up doing better. And I'm not saying anything that people who've been playing don't know already, but I think that all of us tend to get a little lazy, and you like a guy, you'll say, well, I know he's a little worse on FanDuel, but who cares? Or this guy, like Rondé Hollis Jefferson. Let's say you started off by doing FanDuel and you thought that he was a lock here, and then you go to DraftKings, like, well, I know he's not quite as good, but I mean, who cares? I mean, I like him anyway. So these are the kind of human things that we kind of fight when we're trying to portfolio manage and try to do draft DFS. All right, so between DraftKings, between FanDuel, I don't know if I'm in the mood to go off and do another site, but I'm happy to fill in for Bobby or just whatever, however you want to look at it. Hopefully give you guys something to think about for today's slate and beyond. So Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, happy whatever it is you celebrate. I hope, as I said in the DraftKings video, to log in at 1 a.m. on the 26th and see someone sweating something. As a matter of fact, in this particular build, I would hope you'd be sweating, I guess, nobody, because this one has nobody from the 10:30. But not to say to play the specific lineup, but I guess that's all I have. Merry Christmas, happy holidays, and I will see you soon.